Gorgeous day in Chicago, Illinois, and welcome to the Fox Saturday Baseball Game of the Week. Interleague play, and the crosstown rivals going at it. The Chicago Cubs, the Chicago White Sox, today on Fox. And now welcome to the broadcast booth, everybody. I am Joe Buck. Tim McCarver and Ken Rosenthal are both coming up. What a game here yesterday. A 5-4 win for the Chicago Cubs. Fireworks with home runs on the field. An altercation in the dugout in the clubhouse between Lou Piniella and outfielder Milton Bradley of the Cubs. Piniella sent him home in the middle of the game. But Milton Bradley is in the lineup today, batting in the number 3 spot. Plenty more to talk about with regard to Milton Bradley. But for you and I, Tim, we'll just talk about this pitching matchup. Mark Burley, Ryan Dempster, and a good hookup here today.
Everything points to a low-scoring game because the Chicago Cubs and the Chicago White Sox, no two teams in Major League Baseball have gone through a steeper offensive decline this year than these two teams. So with guys like Burley and Dempster on the mound, look for a low-scoring affair.
Dempster an all-star last year. Burley could be an all-star this year for the White Sox. Away we go. Cubs and Sox. Baseball on the other side of the break. Glad you're with us today on Fox. From center field, we get ready for baseball. The fast-working Mark Burley is on the mound for the White Sox. And we give you the lineup for the Chicago Cubs. It's brought to you by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. Soriano leads it off. Ryan Theriot bats in the number 2 spot. Milton Bradley hits third. Derek Lee cleans up. Jake Fox is the DH. He is hot. Giovanni Soto hot as well. Ryan Friel is back, active, playing third. Kosuke Fukudome. And then Andres Blanco is batting 9th. He is the second baseman. And we remind you that you can reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. Only the umpires can make Mark Burley wait.
for pitch number 1. And once it's in his hand and once he throws his first, get ready because they will come in rapid fire.
I can think of no pitcher in baseball that works faster than Mark Burley.
And he misses down and away to Soriano. The Cubs start this day 2.5 games out between Milwaukee, behind Milwaukee and St. Louis. They are tied atop the NL Central. There's a strike. While the White Sox are 3 games under 500, 6 out behind Detroit. Ball and a strike on Soriano, who is hitting .228. And now strike 2.
Soriano has not hit Burley that well, but Burley is the type pitcher that you would think that Soriano would hit well, because Burley doesn't have a breaking ball that goes away from Soriano. Those are the types of pitchers that give him the most problems.
Count is 2-2. Just 6 for 29 is Soriano against Mark Burley, and there are the numbers overall this season for Burley, and that one misses. Ball 3, 3-2. So Soriano, then Terrio, then Bradley. And a full count pitch to the right side. That's Getz to his left. 1-out. Right now, the sprint pitcher profile for Mark Burley, who is the definition of a workhorse.
Yeah, and that rapid fire, that really describes him. Durable. He's pitched the most innings since 2001 and any other major league pitcher, and very, very few breaking balls. He goes off his fastball. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
And a lot of innings.
Oh, man.
And teams are always craving starting pitchers that give innings and take the workload off a bullpen, and nobody has thrown more innings than this guy. Since 2001, number 1 in innings pitched and quality starts, number 3 in wins. So it's not just quantity, it's quality. 1 ball, 1 strike.
That's a rare breaking ball to Terrio. Normally the breaking ball out of the strike zone.
Down and in, 2-1. It's like eating dinner on Thanksgiving, hoping to get back in front of the TV to watch football. We have to talk really fast. That's ball 3, 3-1. Milton Bradley will be next. Should be an interesting reaction when he's announced, which will happen in moments. That's out behind the second base position. That's Getz, 2 out.
Number 21, Milton Bradley.
Well, the White Sox fans are going to boo Cubs players. You know that to be certain anytime these two teams get together, and here on the south side, but I'm sure there are some Cub fans mixed in there for a guy who has been a disappointment so far, hitting .237 overall. He takes a strike on the outside corner.
Watching Milton Bradley take batting practice, he was hammering the ball.
And he lines a base hit into right. So the top of the first inning continues on a base hit to right by Milton Bradley. It will bring in Derek Lee. And if we can get a chance, we'll try and bring in Ken Rosenthal. So much made Ken about yesterday. And the 6th inning, the blow up down in the dugout, which carried over into the clubhouse. Lou Piniella, after Milton Bradley slammed his helmet down, slammed a water cooler down, followed him up into the clubhouse and told him to leave. Take your uniform off, get dressed, and go home. There's a strike on the inside corner to Derek Lee. And then Piniella, right after the ball game, said, that's it. He'll be in the lineup tomorrow. And as far as he's concerned, it was something that needed to happen. He's not glad it did, but it broke some of the tension as it finally boiled over. And when we talked to Lou Piniella before the game, he said he was either going to hurt himself or he was going to hurt somebody else in our dugout with the way he was reacting. 0-2, the count on Derek Lee. And that's 2 wide.
Well, if anybody has followed Milton Bradley since his career started in 2000, you can't be surprised at that. I mean, you mentioned the word carryover, and that's exactly what it's done from year to year. Bradley's behavior has carried over to whatever team he was with. A trail of problems, his 7th major league team.
And a world of talent.
Oh, yeah.
A very good hitter. A great year last year with Texas, and that ends the inning. We'll get to Kenny in the bottom half. Had some audio difficulties with his microphone, so we'll get there in the bottom half of the first. A scoreless top for Mark Burley. Dempster to the hill here on the South Side. Leads it off. Ramirez, Jermaine Dye. Tomey's the DH. Konerko, Brzezinski, Getz, Beckham, the rookie, and then Dwayne Wise as Podsednik shoots one down the line. Fair ball. And a good start for the White Sox as Scott Podsednik doubles down the left field line.
Talked to Greg Walker, the hitting instructor of the White Sox, and he talks about the foot movement of Podsednik. He's very, very effective. Watch his feet. Right foot up, left foot up, slap to left. Good piece of hitting in that particular style. It's very rare, but Podsednik has made it work with the Sox.
When you talk to Podsednik, and what he has said is that movement in the batter's box kind of takes the pressure off his swing. At some point, he's just seeing the ball, swinging at it, and trying to make contact.
You know, what you do is you rob yourself of power, but he's not a power hitter anyway.
There's a bunt by Alexi Ramirez. Perfect. Out at first is Ramirez. Over to third is Podsednik with one out.
Ramirez bunting for a base hit, but he wants to make sure he gets it down far enough down the third base line so the catcher Soto doesn't have a play at third. Good bunt by Ramirez.
Sacrifice is good 2-3 with the catcher feeding Lee. And here is Jermaine Dye with a runner at third, but Podsednik at only one out. You start looking at the career numbers for Jermaine Dye year after year. This is one of the better players on any roster. And I would say still, and I think you and I were talking about this during the World Series back in 05, still one of the most underrated players in the game.
34 home runs last year and half that many this year. He is a good player.
The 1-0 pitch. Just outside 2-0 from Ryan Dempster, who is 4-5 on the year, but a good ERA of 3.83. Talk about tough luck. Last 5 starts, he's allowed a total of 6 runs. As Dye puts the White Sox on the board first with a base hit into left. Jermaine Dye will dig for two. Two doubles in the inning and a run for the White Sox.
Running hard out of the box. That's why he's at second base and not at first. Actually, a good play by Soriano. Podsednik scores easily. Dye running hard. The ball, a carom right to Soriano. And Dye in there with his 12th double of the year.
Went deep in the first inning yesterday, and he rockets one down the line and off the wall on a couple of hops here today. And now Jim Thome, still one of the most intimidating hitters. What a catch by a guy right above us. Still one of the most intimidating hitters in the game. About to turn 39 years old. Just flicking at it and fouling it out of play off to the left. That's all it takes from Thome is a little flick, and it's gone.
Such power the other way. Power to all fields. 56 interleague home runs, leads all major leaguers.
Which is really saying something for a guy who, when the White Sox are playing in National League parks, doesn't play.
That's right.
I mean, every once in a while, but he is a DH now at this point in his career, and a career that's seen him hit 554. 13th on the list, and closing in on Reggie Jackson, who was passed during the week by Alex Rodriguez.
I know what Dempster's thinking right now. Do not let Thome extend his arms. Pitch him tight.
Fastball up, 2-2. These are the two Chicago teams that are both still within the race in their division. White Sox 6 out. The Cubs, despite being a 500 club, only 2.5 out. 2-2 pitch is strike 3. 2 out in the inning. Canerco will be the hitter.
That looked like a splitter. I think it was a high splitter, and Dempster got away with it.
About the sprint pitcher profile for Ryan Dempster.
He pitches deep into the game, as you said, Joe, and that improves split finger. And Ryan probably asking himself, is this the home game? We're in Chicago. He is 17-4 for the last 2 years at Wrigley Field. But no, this is not a home game.
With 2 out, Canerco takes the ball outside. Typically, when you hear friendly confines, you think about that for a hitter at Wrigley Field, but it has been certainly friendly for Ryan Dempster. For the last 2 years, 4-7 on the road to go with that 17-4 record at home. 1-0 pitch. Good breaking ball for strike 1.
Dempster,
last year,
excuse me, Joe, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, last year went back into the rotation after serving as the closer from 2005 to 2007. Was an all-star last year and a 17-game winner. What were you going to say?
I'll tell you. He turned 32 years old on May 3rd. And coincidentally, this year, that was the year, or this has been the year, that Ferguson Jenkins and Greg Maddux had their numbers retired at Wrigley Field. Number 36 for Maddux, number 31 for Fergie. Two great right-handers for the Cubs.
Here's a 2-1 pitch. It's blocked by Soto. 3 balls and a strike with the left-handed hitting Pierzynski on deck. I gave you those numbers, but that bottom line is probably the most important to Dempster and really underscores the problems for the Cubs. They have been dismal hitting with runners in scoring position this season. They are dead last, and only 9 runs total scored over his last 5 starts. Nerko hops out. He's hit 12 home runs, driven in 46, batting .292. That's low. And the first walk of the inning. So this has been a struggle for Dempster, and he has to deal with A.J. Pierzynski.
Big moment in yesterday's game with the bases loaded in the 8th inning. Only one out with the sacks full. And Pierzynski facing Sean Marshall grounded into a double play. A rare 3-2-3 double play. Line throw by Derek Lee and Soto, the Cubs catcher.
Ozzie still got some guns.
Yeah, man.
The sunblock. He and Joey Cora. The 2 out. Ball 1 down and away.
Ozzie's guns are fine, but they're rarely fired anymore.
Somebody's going to have to help him rub that in. Any good manager should have somebody in the dugout to help him get the sunblock all the way into the skin. One ball, no strikes. 2 on, 2 out. 1-0 White Sox, and that's down and away. 2-0.
And we were talking about that play, bases loaded yesterday with the Cubs up by a run 5-4 on the first pitch from Sean Marshall. A breaking ball hit hard to first base. And Derek Lee turns the 3-2-3 double play. I think even announcers, Joe, when a particularly home announcers, when their guy hits into a double play on the first pitch, they'll say first ball hitting, a double play. But if the guy gets a hit, announcers won't say that.
They'll say jumped on the first pitch.
Right.
That's a strike, 2-1.
But surprisingly, this year, major league hitters, when making contact on the first pitch, are hitting .330. That shocked me. That's a big number.
And Pierzynski basically had to defend the at-bat after the game.
Yeah.
Manager Ozzie Guillen said it wasn't a good at-bat. Pierzynski said, I was looking for something up. I knew I'd get a breaking ball. I hit it hard. I just happened to hit it right at Lee to start the double play.
Right.
2 balls, 2 strikes. 2 on, 2 out. In the end, a 5-4 Cubs victory. Thanks in large part to a Giovanni Soto 3-run home run in the 7th. That's a little floater down the left field line, and that's Soriano with his hop and his catch. A run for the home team. 2 doubles, but Sednick and Dye. 1-0 Sox after 1. Sears, sponsored by Taco Bell. Think outside the bun. By Sprint, get more done with Nextel Direct Connect, only on the Now Network. And by Gillette Fusion, Gillette's closest, most comfortable shave. This great city in the Midwest, they love their baseball, and those who follow the Sox, those who follow the Cubs, getting together here on the South Side with home team leading 1-0 after one. Jake Fox, the rookie, Giovanni Soto, the reigning Rookie of the Year in the National League, and Ryan Friel, the hitters, against Mark Burley. How good is Jake Fox? You talk about making a big splash coming up to the big leagues. Overall, combined, what he has done between the Cubs and AAA Iowa, a combined .406 average, 19 home runs and 64 RBIs. And he floats one into shallow center and easy to Dwayne Wise. 1 out. On Thursday, he hit his first off Galarraga in Detroit. And then yesterday, his second off Contreras here in Chicago. And with 1 out, nobody on, here's Giovanni Soto, and there's a line drive foul outside third. And Ken Rosenthal, they are getting more than they ever could have hoped for, and a nice shot in the arm, the Cubs are, from Jake Fox.
No question, Joe. And after that first home run Thursday night in Detroit, he traded a bat for the ball and then walked outside the clubhouse and handed the ball to his father, Terry. Terry said, "That's fine, Jake. I'll hold it for you." And Jake said, "No, I want you to have this." And yet, that wasn't the only big family event of the day for the Foxes. Jake's older brother, Zach, and Zach's wife, Michelle, are expecting their first child. That same day, they heard the baby's first heartbeat. And Jake's mom sent him a text message that said, "Theme of the day, home runs and heartbeats."
Thanks, Ken. And a guy who is now, there's strike 3 on Giovanni Soto. Now they're willing to put him at third base in place of the injured Aramis Ramirez. They have the luxury of DHing him here in interleague play, but he has shown that he can handle himself at third.
Jake, the type of guy who would get more visibility on this network.
Yeah.
His name will be mentioned a lot.
With 2 out, nobody on, there is a strike to Ryan Friel.
By the way, Joe, I mentioned the last inning that Greg Maddox's number was 36. I was wrong. Both Ferguson Jenkins and Maddox number 31. So I erred on that number of Greg Maddox. My apologies to Greg Maddox.
With 2 out, nobody on, the 0-2 pitch from Burley. Outside, ball 1. And on 1 and 2, there's a swing and a miss. Friel is the third strikeout victim from Burley, who is doing his thing here against the Cubs, working fast and working effectively. An inning and a half gone. 1-0 White Sox. Budweiser. Reach for the perfect balance of flavor and refreshment. Budweiser, the great American lager. 1-0 White Sox lead it. Bottom of the second, and a ball, little up, little away. Chris Getz, the rookie second baseman, then Gordon Beckham, and then Dwayne Wise. Bottom three in the lineup for the White Sox. And a jam shot, the second, one out. Caught by Andres Polanco, one away, and a good start to the inning for Ryan Dempster. How much fun did you and I have talking with Gordon Beckham before today's game?
He's terrific. Starting at third base because Alexei Ramirez is the shortstop. Alexei Ramirez, interestingly, was the second baseman last year. But Beckham did play some third base in college. He played 10 games at the University of Georgia.
He said, I'm kind of a circus over there right now. And be kind with whatever you say. I'm still learning at the big league level. And you can just see there's some guys that come up. He's a highly celebrated rookie. And there are some guys that just look like they're going to be solid ball players and can handle life at the big league level. And this guy is definitely in that category.
In a major market, right?
Cheated out of a swing, a half swing, and out number 2. So Beckham, who kind of starting to get his legs underneath him swinging the bat, is 0 for 1, 2 out, and here comes Dwayne Wise. Center field has kind of been a black hole for the Chicago White Sox so far this season. They went into spring training thinking Jerry Owens was going to play out there. They've had Dwayne Wise, they've had Brian Anderson, not getting much production. And ball 1 to Wise.
Well, the offense for the White Sox based primarily on the home run. 44.9% of the runs scored by Chicago, the White Sox that is, via the home run ball. They don't play that move them up type offense. The first and third, they don't have a lot of team speed, but they can hit the ball out of the ballpark.
The 2-0. You know, when you and I put our lineups into our scorebooks and get ready for a game, we go through the stat packet and you get to the league leaders. And in each league, there's not a Cub or a White Sox player listed in the top 10 in any offensive category until you get to some of the more obscure ones like road batting average. Not one. And yet Ozzy's team is 6 games out. Pinella's team is 2.5 games out. And there's the second walk issued by Ryan Dempster, and it keeps the second inning alive.
You look at Ozzie Guillen and Lou Piniella on the right, of course. I think it bears repeating what we said in the opening. These two teams, the White Sox and the Cubs, have suffered the steepest decline in offense in the major leagues this year. 29th and 30th of the 30 teams.
And when you look at the White Sox lineup, from Ramirez, who had a big year last year, Podsednik's been brilliant since they added him May 1st. Dye, Tomey, Konerko, Przinsky. This is a team that's been shut out a major league high 9 times, and at home they're hitting .222 compared to .280 on the road. They're just not scoring runs here at home, although they did pound out 6 home runs against the Dodgers. Wise takes off. Soto's throw is too late. And stolen base number 1 on the season for Dwayne Wise.
Well, he chose the perfect pitch on which to run. The fastball inside when you have a left-handed batter up there. But Podsednik taking all the way. Very difficult, even though Soto came out of there as quickly as possible. He made it close at second, but Wise in there.
Good time to run with Podsednik at the plate as well with, as we said, not a power threat, more of a slap hitter, a singles type hitter, and a base hit would score Wise. He got it into the outfield. Podsednik doubled and scored his first time up. High and tight. 3-0. Ramirez next. 3-1. Anybody could have had Podsednik. He came back to the White Sox, where he was one of the heroes in the 2005 World Championship, and he's paid off and made up for the absence to some degree of Carlos Quentin, who's been on the DL since the end of May. Full count.
Give you an idea of how poorly really both teams have done offensively. Scott Podsednik has 5 more RBIs than Milton Bradley. Podsednik missed a month of the season, and Bradley's been hitting in the 3 and 4 hole. And yet the leadoff hitter for the Sox, a guy who missed the month, has 5 more RBIs than Bradley.
On 3 and 2, Podsednik just does get a piece. Well, if you want to start dissecting Bradley's numbers, you can throw some other players in there for the Cubs, but it points out what Jake Fox has done in a short amount of time, and now Soto has started to turn it around. But this is a Cubs team that invested heavily in Milton Bradley, and all the stuff that went on off the field yesterday aside, he needs to produce. Hard hit base hit through the right side. Podsednik has scored 1 and driven in 1, and it's 2-0 White Sox. A 2-out walk, a stolen base, and it leads to a run for the White Sox.
We were talking about it. This is a type of run that is scored by the White Sox that's very uncharacteristic of their offense. Podsednik with RBI number 22 on the year, and obviously look for him to run.
So now Ramirez, who played second base and burst onto the big league scene last year, now the shortstop, has hit 9 home runs. Overall hitting .258 at the start of the day, and a check on Podsednik, who has stolen 11 and has 247 stolen bases since 2003, which is the 5th most in the big leagues. Dempster has fallen behind quite a bit here in the first 2 innings.
Fell behind Dwayne Wise. Fell behind Podsednik, and now Ramirez.
There's the percentage this year for Podsednik. Just trying to pick his spot. There he goes. Ramirez lets him run, and an easy stolen base, and now out as he went over the bag. There'll be an argument as Ozzie Guillen comes out. Podsednik was safe by a mile and then evidently came off the bag. Blanco with a great job of, and there it is, foot came off the bag. Blanco with a great job of receiving that throw. Inning over, 2-0 Sox. Back after this from your local Fox station. come up with some big hits late in ball games so far in 09 for the Cubs.
I think of the great second baseman for the Cubs, Ryan Sandberg, the Hall of Famer. The Cubs have just been horrible at second base as far as offensive output this year. 211 with 2 home runs for the year. 5 different second basemen. Really bad.
And that 211 average is the 29th best average by a second baseman across the big leagues by that position. And they've had 5 different players. And there it is, 29th. That's the rank. 2 home runs. Very little production with RBIs, and the on-base percentage is terrible. Here's a play by Gordon Beckham. Throw too high, and down to second will go Andres Blanco. Beckham made a nice pickup, spun around, and then let it fly, and it'll be an error on Beckham, his 5th already.
It's one thing, Beckham continuing to turn to his right, and then the throw high, and error. Might be a hit and an error. And it is a hit and an error on Gordon Beckham and for Andres Blanco.
There's a guy who a year ago during this past week was playing in the College World Series for Georgia, a team that lost to Fresno State, now playing in the big leagues with the White Sox, playing a new position. And again, as he told us before the game, he said, I'm a circus over there. I'm just trying to figure it out. And it is just that, a base hit, an error. The guy who made his major league debut on June 4th already has 5 errors. Here's a pop-up a mile high off the bat of Soriano, and Dwayne Wise comes in and makes the play. Here's the end of that conversation between Daryl Cousins and Scott Podsednik. My favorite part.
You got to call that?
Well, yeah, that's why I'm out here, to call that stuff.
From oversliding the bag?
Yeah. What do you think, I'm out here to ignore it?
It's like a who's on first routine.
That's great. Daryl Cousins, a second base umpire, or ignorer.
He's got to call that.
Of course. He made the right call.
Here's Terrio, runner at second, 2 out. Burley trying to pitch around an infield hit and an error. Terrio popped up. Popped up his first time up, so 0 for 1. And now the count, 1 ball, 1 strike.
Joe, you talked about the College World Series, and on Thursday, Ryan Terrio and Mike Fontenot's alma mater, LSU, beat Texas. Paul Maneri, the coach of the Tigers. College World Champions.
Here's a 1-1. That's on the corner. Home plate umpire, by the way, is Angel Campos, with Brian Runge at first and Bill Miller over at third. Called that pitch a strike, and it's a 1-2 count on Terrio, who's driven in 26.
Good cut fastball from Burley.
Up the middle, base hit. Here comes Blanco. There is no play, and the lead is cut in half. A 2-out RBI by Ryan Terrio.
You hear that term, hitters making adjustment all the time. You remember how he got to 2 strikes? It was a cut fastball in on the corner. And this is the pitch before the hit, right there. So Burley thought, well, I'll come back with the same pitch. And Terrio connects. Good hitting by Terrio.
Here's Bradley, chops one left side, and the Sox can't make the play. Beckham and Ramirez. It was between them. I don't know if Beckham got a piece, but Ramirez couldn't make the play, and it's 2 on with 2 out.
I think that should go as a base hit because you've got speed on at first base. The play at second, it's going to be an error. I don't agree with that.
I'm with you. I mean, you talk about a long throw coming up from Ramirez with a guy who can run.
Right. And there's no way to go to second and get your man because Terrio can also run. So speed on the bases for the Cubs.
But it is an error, and for Ramirez, his 9th. 4 errors the last 4 games for Ramirez, and Ozzie Guillen, his manager, has been on his case about his defense.
You know, again, inexperience on the left side. What Beckham could have done, he could have put the glove in front of Ramirez's face, disguising the hop that looked like a good hop.
Here's another one left side that sneaks through. Here comes Terrio. Tie game in the 3rd. A 2-out RBI hit by Derek Lee, his 38th RBI of the season.
D. Lee delivers. Beckham diving for it. Ramirez can't get to it as the Cubs tie it.
If you're Burley, you think back on this inning and you think about how many different ways he could be out of this frame, but the defense on the left side has not been able to cover ground, or when they have, the error by Beckham, the error by Ramirez. It's a 2-2 game, and now the red-hot Jake Fox, who flied to center his first time up, can give the Cubs their first lead of the day. A 26-year-old rookie. Way outside, ball 1. The way Lou Piniella describes Jake Fox, he says, I love a guy that can take it to Powder River from time to time, and this guy can pop it. Down toward the end of the bat, into left center field, and Wise to his right hauls it in. The inning is over. 2 errors in the frame, 2 runs for the Cubs, and after 2.5, it's a 2-2 game. Fox, presented by Sears. Let the Sears Blue Crew help find the top appliance brand most perfect for you. Bottom of the 3rd inning, Ryan Dempster back to the hill. First up is Ramirez, who was out when Podsednik overslid second. It goes down as a caught stealing, and so it'll be Ramirez, then Dye, then Tomey in a 2-2 ball game. Jam shot, late break by Polanco, and what a good play. A slow start, and Blanco made up for it with great hands for out number 1.
Blanco has recorded the last 2 outs in fine fashion. He stayed with the tag on Podsednik and now makes a very, very good play to get Ramirez.
So the bases are empty for Jermaine Dye. And a strike from Dempster. Jermaine Dye, a guy who has hit 308 home runs as a right fielder. As he rips another rocket into left field, he's 2 for 2. And Dye is now on a list, since he's over 300 as a right fielder, one of only 9 right fielders in the history of the game to hit 300 plus home runs. And he has hit 2 bullets here in the first 2 at bats. Here's Tomey, who's hit the most home runs as a right fielder in the history of Major League Baseball, Sammy Sosa, with 538. It was revealed during this past week that Sosa was on the list of the 104 players who tested positive for performance-enhancing drugs back in 2003. A-Rod is the other name that's been publicized on that list, and sure as the days go on, more and more names will come out. Out at second, out at first. And the Cubs flash some leather here in the bottom of the 3rd. 3-6-1 on the double play with Lee to Terrio, and then Dempster covering 2-2 after 3 here in Chicago. Valspar paint. Valspar, the beauty goes on. By Avodart. And by Bank of America Home Loans. Starting now, home has a new address. Mark Burley back to the mound, and a swing and a miss by Giovanni Soto. Underway in the 4th inning. 2-2 game. Soto, then Friel, then Fukudome for the Cubs. Soto has been hot. Had a dismal April. Hit just 109, no homers, 2 RBIs. Won the Rookie of the Year award last year. But he has picked it up of late, and the home runs have been coming in bunches. There's a strike on the inside corner, strike 2. 4 home runs the last 8 games, and a big one here yesterday for the Cub. That's outside and low, 2-2. Down and away, full count. Down and in, a check swing and a leadoff walk. First walk handed out by Burley, and the Cubs have their leadoff man on for the first time in this game. We look ahead to next Saturday. And Saturday baseball on Fox, presented by Pepsi. It'll be the Dodgers at San Diego, Detroit at Minnesota, the Mets at Philadelphia. That's our lineup, and on the air at 4 Eastern. Check your local listings for the game in your area. Up and away, and ball 1 to Ryan Friel. Who's hot around baseball? You've got Ethier, who went deep 3 times last night. First 3-homer game for Andre Ethier. Nieve, who we saw in a game at Yankee Stadium, 3-0 in 4 starts. And then Josh Beckett is red hot. Good again last night, and he's getting production now out of their DH, David Ortiz. If you haven't checked it lately, he's hitting .333 over his last 17 games with 7 home runs and 14 RBIs.
David Ortiz is starting to turn on that inside fastball a lot better than he did the first 6 weeks of the season.
There's a strike, 2 balls and a strike.
Good time to hit and run. Right guy to do it, and the right pitcher against whom to do it.
A fly ball out behind third base. Out goes Ramirez. Has to cover a ton of ground. 1 out. Good play.
Alexei Ramirez wandering way out into left field, and had he not made that play, I don't think Podsednik gets to it. Fine play by Ramirez.
So Ryan Friel, who has had a frustrating season, dealing with a hamstring injury, was let go by the Baltimore Orioles. That's where he started the season. Didn't like the way he was treated there, and then got to the Cubs and got hurt. Strike 1 on Fukudome. Hit over 400 during his minor league rehab stint. The lineup today at third base, and he's 0 for 2. Fukudome trying to bunt. Burley slipped getting off the mound, and good play as he is fed by Konerko. 2 out.
How about that little lead toss to Burley? Konerko leads Burley perfectly, and then Mark doesn't know whether to tag the runner or tag the bag. He opts for the latter, and that was the right choice. Good play by both Konerko and Burley.
They've given Fukudome a sacrifice.
Really?
They did.
Clearly bunting for a base hit.
Yeah. It's the second out of the inning.
Yeah.
They've
Bottom part of the order coming up?
Hey, I hear you, man. Here's Blanco. Almost worked. Burley was, I think, surprised that Fukudome dropped one down, and now here's a ground ball left side. Diving stop Ramirez from his knee to end the inning. Ozzie Guillen thinks he someday will be a Gold Glove caliber shortstop if he can eliminate some of the lackadaisical play and lazy errors. He shows you what he can do from his knee to end the top of the 4th. Konerko first up against Ryan Dempster, and the first pitch is up and in for a ball. It's Konerko, Pierzynski, and then Chris Getz in a 2-2 game. Seen a couple of errors. We've seen a couple of very good defensive plays so far in this game, and Dempster, who fell behind 2-0, has seen his team take advantage of those 2 errors and tie the ball game, which they did in the top of the 3rd. Counts 1-1 on Konerko, who walked his first time up. Konerko's hit 46 home runs during interleague play. That is the 5th best total all time, and 14 have been against Cub pitching. Up on the count, 2-1. The 1-1 pitch is in for a strike. Strike 2. The series will conclude tomorrow with Carlos Zambrano against John Danks. Danks, who beat Ryan Dempster at Wrigley Field last week. 2-2 the count. And that's strike 3 on the inside corner, to the surprise of Paul Konerko. 1 away.
Now, Konerko thought that ball was inside. It looked like a backup breaking ball. A lot of times hitters are fooled on that, but umpires have to wait a little longer. And Konerko was right. That pitch was inside. Hey, they're going to miss some occasion. And he missed that one.
So Konerko shocked to turn around after hearing strike 3, and with 1 out, nobody on. The batter is Pierzynski, and Dempster starts and stops.
You don't mind a pitch like that being called on the 1st or 2nd strike, but not on the 3rd one.
Ball skips in. Ball 1 to A.J. Pierzynski, who flied to left his first time up. One and one. During this past week, the White Sox honored the '59 team, the Go-Go Sox. Louis Aparicio, a Hall of Famer, was here. That year the White Sox lost to the Dodgers in the World Series. That speed team, as I said, known as the Go-Go Sox, and Don Zaminda of Stats Inc. has put together a book, an outstanding book called Go-Go to Glory. Something that any Sox fan will get a kick out of picking up and reliving that great team, as Pierzynski fouls it back, and the count 2-2.
Al Lopez, the great manager of the Sox that year. Nellie Fox, the MVP.
Here's a 2-2. And Pierzynski stays up there. A.J. Pierzynski in these interleague games against Cub pitching used to dominate at .379 the first 20 games against the Cubs. Got in that fight with Michael Barrett. He's hit just .146 in the last 12 against Cub pitching, and he just floats one over the head of Terrion into left center field for a 1-out hit. A piece of hitting by A.J. Pierzynski to get the bat on the ball, and he's on with 1 out in the 4th. Our Hyundai in-game box score for the White Sox as we introduce the all-new 306 horsepower rear-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Pierzynski just got his first hit. Nothing out of the bottom of the order yet, but Sednick has doubled, scored a run, driven in a run with a 2-out hit. Jermaine Dye has a double, an RBI, and a single. 1 on, 1 out for Chris Getz. Strike 1. Chris Getz is a rookie. Among rookies in the American League, he's number 2 in hits so far in 2009, and his teammates have been getting on him and giving him trouble about how the All-Star ballot has him listed. There goes Pierzynski. Hit and run was on, and gets a piece of it and fouls it away. Here it is. Here's the ballot. And there he is, Carl Getz.
What's that line? Just spell my name right? Well, they didn't. Major League Baseball.
So Ken Rosenthal, there's got to be some relationship with the name Carl, right?
There is no relationship at all. It is not his real name. It is not his middle name. He's Chris Getz, but the White Sox are all voting for him. You're actually allowed to vote for your teammates because they want to see Carl Getz in the All-Star game.
Carl Getz.
Just like the Tampa Bay Rays would probably vote for Chris Crawford, their left fielder.
Here's a fly ball foul down the right field line. I think the other part of it is, on baseball side, is some guy out there named Carl Getz might end up being elected to start in the All-Star game. If Getz gets it under the name Carl, is he allowed to go to St. Louis on the 14th and play in the All-Star game? He's been misrepresented.
I think the last name's more important than the first name.
I'll give you that.
Yeah.
Who is leading the voting at second base? Last check, I saw the name Ian Kinsler, who is definitely worthy in that slugging Texas Rangers lineup. There he is with Jeter, Evan Longoria, Teixeira in an unbelievable race at first base. Here's a ground ball to second. Blanco, Terrio on to first, not in time. Force out 4-6 in the inning continues as Getz got to the bag ahead of the throw. Bay in the outfield. What a year he has had with the Red Sox. Hamilton, who wants to come back and play. He's eligible to come off the DL about a week before the All-Star game, so that's coming up. Had abdominal surgery. Ichiro is a fixture and should be an All-Star. And then Joe Mauer, who started the year on the disabled list, but there's nobody that can hit like Joe Mauer.
Except Ichiro.
Except Ichiro. 1 on, 2 out, and the batter is Gordon Beckham. Runner goes, throw down. Getz is safe. Stolen base number 10 for the rookie second baseman.
Hey, the White Sox are picking up early movement on Ryan Dempster. When that left foot is picked up, these guys are running. That should be the third stolen base. It's only the second, but were it not for the tag by Andres Blanco, the second baseman, it would be 3 steals on the day.
1 ball, 1 strike as that one's blocked by Giovanni Soto.
That's where scouting reports for interleague play very, very important, and just picking up some little thing like that, like a left leg pickup, and a guy like Dempster, very, very important, and the White Sox appear to be moving on first movement.
How much would Beckham like to deliver here with 2 out and give the White Sox the lead again? Made an error that contributed to a 2-run third inning for the Cubs. With an in 8. 2-1 pitch. Jammed a bit into right field for Milton Bradley. And the inning is over. Take a break, come back for the 5th. Cubs and Sox tied at 2. score for the Cubs. Soriano is hitless. He'll lead it off here in just a moment. Bradley has a hit, RBI hit for Derek Lee. And the number 9 man, Andres Blanco, with a hit and a run scored. And here is Soriano down the left field line, foul, strike 1. That Hyundai in-game box score. We introduced the all-new 306 horsepower rear-wheel drive Hyundai Genesis Coupe. Soriano is struggling with a bat. Bothered by a sore left knee most of the year, and he's hit 14 home runs, but his average for a leadoff hitter on base percentage is down. 0-1 from Burley. 0-2. 6 out of 31 in his career is Soriano against Mark Burley. Just up and away. One, 2, 2-2. Alfonso Soriano is in year 3 of an 8-year, $136 million deal. Shatters his bat and floats one into right for a leadoff base hit for the Cubs. 1 inning ago, we talked with Lou Piniella, and the first question was about his team clawing back, getting 2-out hits to tie this game at 2.
No question. Good 2-out hitting there in the 3rd inning, and we almost got one back here in the 4th. Great play by the shortstop. But look, I'm pleased. I really am. The guys are playing hard. We've been playing a lot of close games early, and let's see if we can get on top here. You had to get to the ballpark today and answer question after question about Milton Bradley, and where does that stand right now? And did you talk to Milton before today's game after the confrontation yesterday? Well, I talked to him, yeah, and he's out in right field, hitting 3rd in our lineup. I hope he has a good day and helps us win a baseball game. We had a nice talk, and the thing is behind us. Yeah, everybody keeps waiting for you to blow your top and go nuts out on the field, get kicked out of a ball game. Was that frustration on your part as well, just trying to get this thing shaken up a little bit and get them going? No, not at all. Look, the players play on the field. They're the ones that get it done. I'm here to put out a lineup, direct them, motivate them if I possibly can, and they're the ones that play, Joe, and I let them play. I treat them all like men, and I stay out of their way. All right, Lou, thanks for your time. You're quite welcome. All right. That's Lou Piniella 1 inning ago. Ken Rosenthal, you asked him a very important question, and that was, what was the difference between what Bradley did yesterday as Theriot takes one down and away 1-2 compared with Carlos Zambrano flinging the ball into the bleachers, or what Ryan Dempster did, or Ted Lilly jumping over the fence and arguing with an umpire in a game he wasn't even involved in.
Right, Joe. And Lou's response was that Bradley has done this repeatedly, and that is the difference. Now, before the game, when Piniella talked with Bradley, he did apologize to Bradley for using a very pointed expletive during their heated exchange. Bradley was asked before the game by the team's beat writers, hey, is this relationship with Piniella now irreparable? He said not at all. The bottom line, Joe, is that when the Cubs signed Bradley, they had to know that they were going to get eruptions from time to time. The problem is that there have been too many of them too frequently.
Well, and the other problem is he's not hitting. I mean, I think you can put up with a little more if he's producing on the field. And I know to some degree, if it goes over the top and it's a situation where you can't get away from it and it's day after day of throwing helmets or doing whatever, that's one thing. But you look at his numbers compared to the other free agents that the Cubs could have jumped on. Ibanez got big money from the Phillies. Abreu signed for relatively low money, and then Dunn, who ended up with the Nationals. It's an interesting comparison, and you wonder what Jim Hendry is thinking now, looking back on making this move, and not only signing Bradley, but having to move DeRosa and Jason Marquis, deal them to clear the payroll to sign him.
And there have been recent discussions, we understand, about the services of Mark DeRosa with the Cleveland Indians, who are floundering.
2 balls, 2 strikes. We'll go back to Ken after this pitch to Ryan Theriot, who's 1 for 2. end of the bat. Another foul ball. Pretty good at bat by Terrio. Ken, looking back, you look at the decision by the Cubs and maybe even the decision by Milton Bradley himself electing to go to Chicago.
Right. He had the choice to go to Chicago or Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay did not offer him as good a deal. It was slightly more than the 2-year, $16 million contract that they ultimately gave Pat Burrell. But Bradley wanted to be here. They did offer him more money. He might have been better off in the American League with Joe Madden, a less volatile manager, and in Tampa Bay, a much less intense market. But when you go back to the Cubs' decision, Joe, what they wanted to do was get more left-handed. And the entire plan has absolutely gone badly on them. You look at Fontenot, he has struggled. Aaron Miles, Bradley. All of these guys were supposed to help balance their lineup, and it just has not happened.
Yeah, I mean, those are the numbers within the numbers against right-handed pitching. Milton Bradley sitting 200. That pitch is high. A very good at bat by Terrio as he works a walk out of Mark Burley. A 10-pitch at bat, and the Cubs have 2 on with nobody out here in the 5th inning. And here is Milton Bradley with a chance to do something against Mark Burley and give his team the lead. Against right-handed pitchers this season, Bradley and Miles, a couple of switch hitters. And he shoots that one off the fists, foul, out of play.
As surprising as anything, Milton Bradley making comments that he didn't realize the interest in this city about baseball. I mean, how can you... Where have you been? I mean, to compare Chicago with Tampa Bay, I mean, it's ludicrous. Or any other market. I mean, other than perhaps New York, Los Angeles, of course. But, I mean, this is a hotbed of fervor.
He also revealed that he really doesn't have anybody that he can vent to on this team like he had last year in his situation with the Texas Rangers, where he hit .321 with 22 home runs.
That's a balk.
That's got to be a balk.
Yeah.
Nobody over at first, and Burley just locked up. There's a runner at second, a runner at first, and he stepped over toward first and then stopped.
I've got to believe he forgot that there was a runner on at second base. This is the rarest of rare mistakes by Mark Burley. Not only that, he's a left-hander. He can see Paul Konerko not covering first base. I have no idea what Burley was thinking there.
Pierzynski, the catcher, walks back to the plate, shakes his head. You wonder if he gave the sign for a step off or a spin and look back towards second base, and Burley just locked up and went toward first, and that's a ball. Ball 1 to Milton Bradley, who has second and third with nobody out. And again, we'll tell you, this Cubs team last in the big leagues in batting with runners in scoring position coming into this game at 218. 2-2. It's the first balk for Mark Burley since 2006, and it advances the runners to second and third. Here's a 2-2. And a line drive caught by Ramirez, 1 out.
You got 2 ways to go now. You get the out. You can walk Derek Lee and pitch to the inexperienced Jake Fox against a guy like Burley. You can see Bradley's reaction right there. Didn't hit that ball well.
Here is Lee. How careful will the White Sox be? They start him with a strike. And Derek Lee talks to the home plate umpire, Campos. Soriano at third, Terrio at second, 1 out. Inside, a ball and a strike.
Joe, I don't think I've ever seen a left-hander balk with runners on at first and second. I mean, the play's right in front of you. Nobody covering at first base. most unusual play, particularly for a guy like Mark Burley.
Now Lee pops it up into left field. Wise to his right will make the catch. Soriano tags and scores, and the Cubs have the lead thanks to the balk at the moment as Lee drives in his second run of the day. 3-2 Cubs here in the fifth.
Here it is again. You can see Mark Burley has everything in front of him. And obviously when you're on the rubber, if you move toward a base, you have to throw to that base. And he might have been called for a balk even if he throws the ball to Konerko because the base wasn't occupied.
So it advanced the runners to second and third. Bradley lined out. Derek Lee flies to center for a sac fly, and now Jake Fox. Strike one. Now, just to finish the point about the Cubs against right-handed pitching, one guy that Chicago just let walk away last year was Jim Edmonds. And when you start looking at his numbers, he hit 19 home runs for the Cubs last year and 250 at bats. There's a breaking ball, and it looked like Pierzynski might have been crossed up. It's 0-2. Runner at second, Terrio, 2 down, and that just missed. I think each side is trying to get a better understanding of what the strike zone is right now as it counts 1-2. Fox waits and checks his swing. 2-2. Soriano started this inning, shattered his bat, got a base hit to right. He scored on a sac fly by Lee. 2-2. That's in the air to right center field. Wise to his left, and the inning is over. So the balk leads directly to the go-ahead run. Sac fly by Lee. 3-2 Cubs after 4.5. By Craftsman, trust in your hands. Bottom of the fifth inning here on the south side of Chicago. It's Dwayne Wise to lead it off, but Sednick and then Ramirez. 9-1-2 hitters against Ryan Dempster, who has a lead. Ball one up and away. Wise walked, stole a base, and scored a run his first time up, driven in by Podsednik. That all happened with 2 out. There's ball 2. Wise is hitting only 186. Now ball 3. Dempster needs a strike. Wise should be taking. He does, and it's 3-1. Swinging on 3-1, pops it up into left, and Soriano, who struggled out there yesterday, finds it, catches it, 1 out. Podsednik coming up. He overslid the bag to end the second inning. The last go around. Here he was, safe by a mile, trying to steal, and then came in and talked to Brian Anderson on the bench, who's wearing a mic.
Since you're there so quick, you blow by the bag. By the way, do you get an SB for that? No. How do you not get a stolen base? Dude, you're trying to tell me if you're safe and you come off, that's...
He does not get a stolen base. He gets a caught stealing, and with him, Podsednik moving up in the box, he takes the ball up on the way. 1 out, nobody on, 1-0 pitch. Down and in, 2-0.
Scott Podsednik looks like a throwback. I mean, that batting style with moving the feet looks like something hitters would do in the 20s or 30s. That's how a lot of guys hit in those days.
Wee Willie Keeler.
Yeah, yeah. Cap Anson.
The foul on a play off to the left, 2-2. Question for the White Sox is what to do with Podsednik going forward. The way he has hit, if he doesn't come back to the White Sox, there'll be teams lining up to get their hands on Podsednik, who can be a very good leadoff hitter. And now he shoots one into right. Well hit. Podsednik has tied it.
That's not like Wee Willie Keeler. Remember a couple of pitches ago when Podsednik, robbing himself of power, did the shuffle, the iPod shuffle? Not then. Goes deep and ties the game for the Sox.
Ramirez shoots one foul. That was like the old Scott Podsednik with his feet stationary and something he did in the World Series against the Houston Astros.
Game 2 in 2005.
Pitch is up. Ramirez did not offer at it. The count 1-1 strike. The 1-1 from Dempster. 2 balls and a strike. Ramirez now, Jermaine Dye, who's had 2 good at bats on deck. Three and 1.
I'll tell you, Joe, from a catcher's standpoint, you know, when a guy like Podsednik moves his feet like that, you give up thinking that he's going to hit the ball out of the ballpark. And then he switches things on you and swings from his heels.
Good pitch by Dempster, full count.
About a guessing game normally from a hitter to a pitcher. But in Podsednik's situation right now, it's really a pitcher determining whether he's going to flip it to left or turn on it.
With 1 out, 3-2 pitch is into right field. A base hit. That gives us time for our Gillette trivia question. The subject is power. What visiting player has hit the most career home runs at U.S. Cellular Field? Visiting player, the most at this park, is 19 years old.
A-Rod comes to mind. Member of the Texas Rangers and New York Yankees.
Check on the runner, Ramirez. Dempster has watched the Sox try to steal since this game began. More of a power threat at the plate now in Jermaine Dye, but White Sox have come out running today. That is high, ball one. Good game, 3-3, bottom of the fifth. Struggling for his release point, it looks like, and struggling with his control is Dempster, who was doing this more in the early innings. Now he falls behind Dye 2-0.
Yeah, for that reason, you don't run in this situation. You let a quiet Dye hit with the count 2 balls and no strikes. 2-0, 3-1. Let a hot hitter swing instead of sending the runner.
Ramirez does not have a big lead at first, and that's a strike. 2-1.
Point is, the better the hitter, the less inclined you are to send the runner, unless it's 3-2.
The 2-1 pitch is popped up. Right side, foul ball. Lee gives it a look. Will it stay in play? It will. And Jermaine Dye is retired for the first time this afternoon. Ramirez at first, 2 out. And Jim Thome will be the hitter. We asked you that Gillette trivia question. We didn't give you much time to think about it. The answer is Jim Thome. Visiting player has hit the most career home runs at U.S. Cellular Field. Jim Thome, during his days with the Cleveland Indians and the Philadelphia Phillies. Ball one high. Thome is struck out and bounced into a well-turned 3-6-1 double play. Bothered by a sore heel. Talked to him before the game. He's out here early doing yoga moves in the outfield, and he said he's feeling pretty good. Got basically a week off during the interleague action that took place in the National League cities, including Wrigley. The count's 2-0.
Baseball's in the dark ages as far as stretching is concerned. I'm surprised more players don't go to yoga or some serious form of stretching exercises. It would cut down on the hamstring pulls, the quad pulls, the rib cage pulls significantly.
Well, there is no bigger, in my estimation, waste of time than watching major league players before batting practice stretch as a group.
It's really a joke. You're right.
No effort into it. They go through the motions. They barely try to stretch, and then they hop in there and start hitting and go out in the field and start jogging around the outfield.
Baseball's not a sport like basketball where there's continuous movement. You rarely see a basketball player, as an example, with a hamstring pull. You may see a quad or broken bones, things like that. That's Aramis Ramirez before the game. But once he starts playing, he quits doing that.
Thome takes high and takes a walk on 4 pitches, and for Dempster, his 3rd walk of the day.
The very nature, Larry Rothschild out to talk to Ryan Dempster, but the very nature of baseball, it's a sport with sudden movements, and obviously with the more sudden the movement, the better chance that someone has a chance to pull something.
Which usually the strength and conditioning coach that's doing the hardest work before the game.
Yeah.
I mean, they're really doing the stretches.
We're obviously not coming down on those fine gentlemen at all.
But at some point, it's up to the player to take it seriously. And a lot of guys don't. Not all of them.
No.
But a lot of guys don't. And Aramis Ramirez before the game. And that's him getting ready. He took batting practice. Looked good swinging the bat. Which for any Cubs fan has got to be really welcome news. The numbers are not good without that guy in the lineup, Aramis Ramirez, who is the Cubs' best run producer. The team was 10-7 with him before he went out with a dislocated left shoulder. And they're almost a run per game less without Ramirez in the lineup with the exact batting average they had while he was in there. Maybe a rehab assignment next week. Here's Konerko, tie game, 2 on, 2 out. A strike from Ryan Dempster. Konerko called out on strikes his last time up, walked his first time. One ball, one strike. David Patton, a right-hander, getting loose for the Cubs in their pen. It has been a long 5th inning for Ryan Dempster. Strike 2. This has been an emotional week for Dempster. Along with his wife Jenny, brought home baby Riley, who was born on April 1st with DeGeorge syndrome, which is a condition that affects the baby's ability to swallow properly. And on Tuesday, finally getting home and out of the hospital was Riley. So Dempster's been dealing with a lot here in 2009, and for the most part pitched very well. As we mentioned, his last 5 starts, he's been stingy giving up runs, but his teammates have not supported him with much. And he is trying to fight his way through this 5th inning as he will bring his 29th pitch of this 5th into Paul Konerko.
Life goes on, huh?
It's off the field and on the field, trying to do his job. A record overall of 4 and 5. 2-2 pitch. Check swing foul. Paul Konerko, who has had a great run here with the White Sox. Big reason why they won it all in 2005.
Signed as a catcher with the Dodgers.
Came up with L.A. and has settled in here with Chicago. 2-2 pitch with 2 on, 2 out. Fights it off and fouls it out of play. Cubs in their half of the 6th inning. We'll have the 6, 7, and 8 hitters, Soto, Friel, and Fukudome. It's been a 15-minute half inning for Dempster. Trying to get through the 5th. Another 2-2. And that hit. Konerko up high, and he seems to be fine. He'll go down to first to load the bases. If that caught him on the helmet
or shoulder,
but it was upstairs, right off the front of the helmet.
Yeah, it was.
Let's take a listen.
See a lot of hitters get hit on the side of the helmet. Obviously, that's why that flap is there. But you rarely see a hitter get hit on the front of the helmet. Looked like it hit the socks.
So now back-to-back hitters, a walk on 4 pitches to Tomey. Konerko hit on the helmet. And here is Pierzynski, and you know the Cubs are torn, wondering if they should go get Dempster or leave him out there to try to get through this 5th, and he misses down and in ball 1. You figure this would be the last hitter for Ryan Dempster either way, with Patton getting ready in the bullpen. Pierzynski 1 for 2. One and one. They had their first sellout since opening day here yesterday, and they are packed in at U.S. Cellular Field this afternoon. Black and blue getting together. Colors of the White Sox, the colors of the Chicago Cubs, and a 1-1 pitch. Hard hit and a base hit into right field. Ramirez scores. Tomey to the plate. He is safe. And it's 5-3 White Sox.
When a pitcher has a splitter and a good hitter like Pierzynski puts it in play, you can almost tell what the pitch was. A little bit off the end of the bat. Fine piece of hitting by Pierzynski, and the Sox take the lead again.
This inning evidently will continue for Ryan Dempster. It's already been a 34-pitch inning. And he can't find the strike zone.
Well, Lou Piniella knows that the Cubs have not scored a lot of runs for Dempster. And Lou probably thinking this might be one of those games where they come back and score a lot of runs. So you give him that as a gift. It's certainly his last inning and probably his last hitter.
1 ball, 1 strike.
And Lou Piniella realizing that if the Cubs are going to make it to the postseason, they've got to have Dempster in a good state of mind.
This is a Cubs team that has a starting rotation that averages 6.14 innings per start. That leads the major leagues. But it has been a struggle for Dempster since the beginning, and he falls behind, gets 2-1. The idea of leaving him out there to try to get through 5, and even with the last 5 frustrating starts, Dempster is being given this opportunity to try and end it right here in what has already been a 3-run 5th inning. Getz was ready to unload, and he pops it into shallow right. Bradley back and now in. A 3-run inning for the White Sox in the 5th. A.J. Pierzynski, the big base hit. 5-3 White Sox after 5. call yourself a sports fan, you've got to get DirecTV. By Zantac. Heartburn? Attack it. Zantac. And by the new Kentucky Grilled Chicken. Taste the unfried side of KFC. Well, the 3-run 5th inning has the White Sox out in front 5-3 for Mark Buehrle. And no surprise as Buehrle pitches into the 6th inning. He finds the strike zone to Giovanni Soto, who's 0 for 1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Soto, Friel, and Fukudome. Everybody gets on the number 9 hitter, Andres Blanco. Here's a line drive into left field, and that ball's caught by Podsednik. We just had a chance to visit with Ozzie Guillen, and the first question was about A.J. Pierzynski coming through and getting a base hit to give the White Sox the lead.
Well, AJ struggled with people, with men on base lately. Yesterday come out with bases loaded, ground out, double play. But this thing, I think this is a base hit for us.
Can you explain that balk that happened by Buehrle last inning?
Well, is any kids watching, please turn the TV off in that particular time. We don't know. I think he got confused with the sign, and they got caught up in the middle.
Why, can you put your finger on why your team has struggled for the kind of veteran hitters you have in your lineup, why they've struggled to hit here at home?
Well, it's kind of funny because most of the years I've been managing this club, we really hit really well here in Chicago. All of a sudden this year we're not doing it. First of all, it's just good. We're facing pretty good pitching, but we try to figure out why we so struggle here.
We appreciate your time, Ozzie. Thank you, and good luck.
Thank you. I'll be waiting to be in your show now.
Okay. You're on. You heard it. Got to keep it clean, though, Oz. We're keeping it clean. Ozzie Guillen, who holds court in that dugout. You and I, Tim, walked out with Pete Macheska and Kenny Rosenthal before this game, and he had an informal gathering down in that dugout. And I mean, it is one of the most interesting conversations to listen in on. And he says whatever crosses his mind. And you and I have talked about it before. His candor is so refreshing, and he's a guy that just says it how he feels.
All of his gatherings are informal. All of them.
Here's a pop-up on the infield. That's Getz to his left. That's out number 2. Yeah, I don't know that he would really treat anything like a formal gathering.
No.
There's that promo for the All-Star game. You think about Mark Buehrle, who grew up in the St. Louis area in St. Charles, went to Francis Howell High School, and there were always those rumors that he might end up in St. Louis. He may end up in St. Louis in a couple of Tuesdays on the 14th, representing this White Sox team as an American League All-Star. He's been an All-Star 3 times.
One reason that he probably won't sign with the Cardinals is that the Cardinals have to play at Wrigley Field 9 games a year, and he does not like Wrigley Field.
Well, he let it fly. He was quoted as saying that during the week.
Yeah.
But when you talk about signing in the contract and the numbers that he's put together in his career, he is working on a 4-year, $56 million deal. If you compare his career statistics to CC Sabathia, I mean, they're basically dead even. And Sabathia just got a 7-year, $161 million contract over this offseason from the New York Yankees. Look at the starts, the record, the ERA. I mean, it's all right there, and you know you're going to get innings and quality innings from Buehrle, and the contract, I mean, it's just in another world.
I remember Harry Carey's line about that. The famous White Sox Cubs announcer used to say, how much money can you spend on in a lifetime? I mean, come on.
Well, they're going to meet on the mound, and Buehrle, who's building his dream house with his family back in St. Charles, Missouri, just outside of St. Louis, will get this visit from Ozzie Guillen. You could only listen in to that. And while they're talking, we're going to look at the NL All-Star ballot leaders, and here's how the fans have it lined up. Braun in left, Beltran, Ibanez, David Wright, Hanley Ramirez, Chase Utley, Albert Pujols, and Yadier Molina, the Cardinals catcher. There's 1 week left to vote, and Pujols is the leading vote getter in the NL.
We were talking about it before the game. I mean, how Hanley Ramirez can lead all vote getters at shortstop and yet play in front of 3,500 to 4,000 people a night down in Florida.
It tells me that the voters and the fans in the other cities that are filling these ballparks and doing the voting know how good of a player he is and know what they're looking at.
Marlins currently only a game out from the Phillies in the National League East.
Here's a base hit by Blanco, and now the Cubs have something going with 2 out. A walk to the number 8 hitter Fukudome, and a base hit by Blanco, who's 2 for 3. It brings in Soriano. There's action for the White Sox with Carrasco in the bullpen, and that's it. Burley cannot get through 6. It'll be 2 on with 2 out when we come back, and Carrasco will be dealing with Alfonso Soriano. Big matchup when we come back after this break. One earned run, 6 hits, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. And now DJ Carrasco takes over. A Zantac relief pitcher profile. Heartburn, attack it, Zantac, and DJ Carrasco has gone through stretches where he has been dominant so far in 09. He can bring it, and he fires up and in, ball 1 to Soriano.
Ozzie Guillen has said that Carrasco has been our best pitcher. That's saying something because the White Sox bullpen has been superb this year.
The next from Carrasco, and Soriano's going to have to crank it up another notch. 1 ball, 1 strike. Carrasco threw 39 pitches against the Dodgers on Thursday, and he's back at it here on Saturday afternoon, and he is number 1 in the American League as far as innings pitched. He has been a workhorse. The 1-1 pitch to Soriano. A strike. It's 1-2. If Soriano can get something done here, he can do exactly what you talked about, Tim, which is reward Ryan Dempster, who was able to get through that bottom of the 5th, the long bottom of the 5th, kept it a 2-run game. It's 2 on, 2 out. Carrasco drops down sidearm, and here's a shot into left over the head of Podsednik. 1 run scores. Here comes Blanco. This game is tied.
The reason right-handers drop down against right-handers is to try to get them to bail with the rear end. But Soriano's hanging right in there and gets a very big double for the Cubs. And as you mentioned, Joe, Ryan Dempster, who's off the hook and can only win this game if the Cubs can play to run and take the lead.
Reaction by Burley, who I'm sure is upset most with that 2-out walk to Fukudome. Much more than the hit by Blanco, which chased him. And now a ball up and away to Ryan Theriot, who could give the Cubs the lead again. A hit, an RBI, a run scored, and a walk. A late swing and a foul, 1 ball, 1 strike. Carrasco has that old school look with his socks. Called upon by Ozzie Guillen, and it did not work. The sidearm delivery was flipped into left field. One bounce off the wall by Soriano to tie the game. The 1-1. 2-1. Mentioned the bullpen has been very good. The 9th best ERA across baseball. 3.77 for the White Sox out of their pen.
I think the numbers really, in a sense, lie right there. I think the White Sox are better than 9th best as far as their bullpen's concerned.
Here's a 2-1. 3-1. After Theriot, most talked about man in Chicago over the last 24 hours, Milton Bradley. The 3-1 will count. Go ahead, run at second, 2 out. And that will keep the count full.
You can see that unusual way that Theriot starts. He turns that the toes on his left foot in, and what that does, it reminds the hitter to keep the shoulder in there, keep the hip in there, particularly with 2 strikes.
Another 3-2 off the end of the bat. Shallow right center. This ball might drop. Base hit, and the Cubs take the lead.
And if you don't stay in on a pitch like that with 2 strikes, you're not going to get a hit. A lot of guys would say, well, that's just a lucky hit. When the front shoulder's in there, get the ball off the end of the bat. But a lot of good things happen, and now the Cubs retake the lead.
So back and forth we go, and it's Theriot who dumps one into right field to put Chicago on top 6-5 as the Cubs come back with 3. Answering the White Sox last half inning. And now Milton Bradley, who, as we mentioned earlier, was brought to the Cubs to help against right-handed pitching, gets to turn around and bat left-handed, hitting .200 as a left-handed batter here in 2009.
Theriot a threat to run at first base. 9 stolen bases on the year.
Thing that hasn't been mentioned much with regard to Milton Bradley is that blow up yesterday in the 6th inning when he reacted after an out and was eventually sent home by Lou Piniella, followed a benching on Thursday in Detroit. So you know there was frustration leading into yesterday's game because he didn't play on Thursday in Detroit. Everything transpired and basically unraveled in the 6th inning. 2 had a heated exchange up in the clubhouse, and Bradley was sent home. So far today, 1 for 3. It's outside, a ball and a strike. Five of the Cubs' 6 runs today have scored with 2 outs, and this rally started with a walk to Fukudome with 2 out. That's strike 2. DJ Carrasco has given up a 2-run double, an RBI single, and a 1-2 to Bradley. Blown by his bat. The strikeout ends the top of the 6th inning, but it's the Cubs fans who celebrate. And Dempster is headed back out there, leading 6-5. Warm up, but it was done to get Aaron Heilman ready in the bullpen. That flurry came in a blink for the Cubs as they got 3 runs in the top of the 6th inning to take the lead 6-5, and Heilman wasn't ready, so Dempster ends up going just to 5 innings. He can only be the winner if he gets a decision. He allows 5 runs on 8 hits. Here are the numbers for Aaron Heilman. And Heilman will get ready. And Dempster, it happened exactly how you described it could with Dempster now, after not getting much help, his last 5 starts being in line only for the victory.
Yeah, and the reason Aaron Heilman's in there is because now the Cubs have the lead. They scored the 3 in the top of the 6th inning. David Patton, the right-hander, was ready, but called it exactly right. Piniella did not have his better bullpen right-hander, and Aaron Heilman ready. And so he sent Dempster back out there, and that gave Aaron a lot more time to get loose.
And one of the keys was Dempster getting Chris Getz to end the 5th inning when he did. To be able to head back to the dugout, his teammates rewarded him with 3 runs, and now he and the Cubs lead. Our Flomax replay was Scott Podsednik over sliding second base. Blanco keeping the tag on his leg called out, and then the conversation with Darryl Cousins.
You got to call that?
Well, yeah, yeah, that's why I'm out here to call that stuff.
From oversliding the bag.
Yeah. What do you think? I'm out here to ignore it?
I have a question.
Do you think I'm out here to ignore it?
That's our Flomax conversation of the game.
And here's Gordon Beckham. He'll lead it off and try and get something going. He's 0 for 2. Dwayne Wise will be next, and then Podsednik against Aaron Heilman. Mets will tell you that Aaron Heilman, while he possesses great stuff, his problems have always been too many mistakes over the plate. The reason why he's no longer with the Mets and counted on now, certainly coming into this season, heavily by the Chicago Cubs as he falls behind 2-0, protecting a 1-run lead.
Doing game on the north side several weeks ago, Larry Rothschild telling me that the one thing they need to do more than anything is get Aaron Heilman straightened out.
The 2-1 pitch. A late swing by Beckham, strike 2. Heilman, a guy who came up with the Mets and was not quiet about wishing that he was in the starting rotation when the Mets put him in the bullpen. He stayed in the bullpen with the Mets, and now he's in the bullpen with the Cubs. 2-2 pitch. Another late swing and a foul.
One thing about Aaron, when he was with the Mets thought he threw too many changeups to the point where it was ineffective. The more changeups you throw, the less effective they are. So he is throwing more fastballs with the Cubs.
The 2-2 again, and a strikeout as Beckham is tied up and in. So Heilman comes back from a 2-0 count, strikes out Beckham to start the 6th. They'll bring in Dwayne Wise.
Fastball out of the strike zone to get Gordon Beckham. Think about the problems of coming up at that young age, only 23 years old, and trying to not only learn the pitchers in your league, but with interleague play, the pitchers of the National League.
All the while trying to figure out a new defensive position.
Yeah.
He's committed 5 errors. 3 of those errors have been throwing errors as he tries to get comfortable at third base after playing shortstop collegiately in a short time in the minor leagues. 2-0 the count here with Wise. Podsednik on deck. He is a triple away from hitting for the cycle. And Wise shoots one into right center field. That ball's going to get past Fukudome into the wall. Wise will dig for second, and with 1 out, try for third and make it. Tying run 90 feet away.
No sooner had you mentioned the word triple than Dwayne Wise triples. I think that ball was misplayed by Fukudome. Fukudome went straight toward the right fielder, and then he went back. Had he gone back initially, perhaps he holds Wise to a double. You see his route, though, over, back. If you go back and over with your first move, then perhaps he holds Wise to a double. As it is, the tying run on third base. What a seesaw affair this is.
And here is Podsednik, who has doubled, singled home a run, and homered. Infield is in. Podsednik, with his feet creeping forward, takes the ball. What a day and what an average. 317.
When you do that, Joe, the one thing you do not want to do is to get your right foot completely out of the batter's box. If it's completely out of the batter's box toward the pitcher, then the right foot is in fair territory and the umpire has the right to call you out. So not only do you have to make the move like that, but you have to be careful not to get out of the box.
That's low. It's 3-0 with Ramirez on deck.
In 1965, I was the catcher when a guy, a right-handed hitter, against Kurt Simmons, had both feet out of the box. His name, Hank Aaron. He would have had 756 home runs were it not for that home run when he was called out. You believe that? Hank Aaron called out by Chris Pellicudis, a home plate umpire.
Both feet were out.
Both feet were out of the box. Yep. September of '65.
Tying run at third, 1 out. 3 balls and a strike on Podsednik. Trying to poke it into left, and the count's full.
That's both feet were out of the box. Andy hit a home run in the process off a curveball from Kurt Simmons. Pellicudis called him out immediately.
What'll it be on 3-2? Time called at the plate. 19 RBIs on the season for a guy who is filling in for Carlos Quentin on the DL with plantar fasciitis in his left foot. And another hit. What a day for Podsednik. It's 6-6. 4 for 4.
Fastball away from Heilman. Podsednik with his 4th hit of the day. What a job returning to the White Sox.
I mean, nobody really talks about it across the league because of the play of Podsednik, but you're talking about a player in Carlos Quentin who was having an MVP caliber season last year until he hurt his wrist. So Quentin says he's feeling better than he was 10 days ago. We saw him working out before the game. Ken Rosenthal, how would you handicap what the Chicago White Sox do if and when Quentin comes back and gets active in this lineup?
Joe, one thing they could do is start playing Podsednik in center field. And what's interesting about that is after they signed him, I asked Ozzie Guillen, well, could he use Podsednik in center? And he said no. He can't play center field anymore. Earlier, I had asked Ozzie the same day about bringing up Gordon Beckham, who was at the time in the minor leagues, and he said, if we need Beckham, we're in trouble. Well, both things might happen, which just goes to show that necessity is, again, the mother of invention.
1 on, 1 out. Ramirez hops out. There's Carlos Quentin warming up before the game, trying to do some agility drills. And trying to stretch out that left foot. Moving around with one of the trainers of this White Sox team. Fastball misses up and away to Ramirez. Podsednik has tied his career high with his 4th hit of the day, and he should get another at bat before the end of this one. Six in the 6th. Foul back behind the plate. Soto is there, and that's out number 2. Number 3 hitter Jermaine Dye will dig in. Our Smirnoff Ice game summary. Soriano, a 2-out, 2-run double in the 6th inning. Then he scored on a hit by Terrio. The lead is gone because Scott Podsednik just tied it with his 4th hit of the day. He's hit a home run, has 3 RBIs. He scored twice. And like Chris Pellicudis, Tim talking about earlier, Darrell Cousins, the crew chief and second base umpire, ignores nothing. Podsednik out earlier as he overslid the bag, the proper call. We had a chance to eavesdrop on that conversation. Ball 1 to Jermaine Dye. Two out of 3 in this game is Dye. White Sox team and how they play as we make our way toward the month of July will determine, you would have to believe, whether the White Sox will be buyers or sellers at the trading deadline. If they turn into sellers, we're going to have a lot of players that a lot of teams would like to get their hands on.
And this guy is the #1 guy.
Start of the day 6 games out behind Detroit in the AL Central. Now a pitch out and the count's 2-0.
Well, that's a gutsy move. But again, with a guy like Jermaine Dye up there, the better the hitter, the less inclined you are to run. Now it's 2 balls and no strikes instead of it being an even count.
That's ball 3 with the dangerous Tomey on deck. This is a Cubs bullpen that has only 1 left-hander in it. Sean Marshall, who was big yesterday, getting Krasinski with the bases loaded. There's nobody getting loose. This 6th inning for now belongs to Heilman. The 3-0. 3-1. Fans are worn out. Playing the 6th inning, and Dye hits it on the infield. Second baseman Blanco makes the play, and the inning is over. The White Sox have tied it. This game is tied at 6. After 6, a 4-hit day for Podsednik. Into the 7th, back after. First pitch of ball from DJ Carrasco, who gave up the lead in the top of the 6th inning, allowing a double and an RBI single, and now back to work in the 7th. The count's 2-0. It'll be Derek Lee, Jake Fox, and Giovanni Soto. A 6-6 game. And a jam shot. Good pitch. Shallow right. Getz is out, and Lee is out. One away in the 7th. Time for a DirecTV game break, and we go to St. Louis against Kevin Slowey. Albert Pujols not 1, but 2 2-run shots. This guy is absolutely tearing up. Pitching in the NL and now AL. In the first half of the season, a 5-3 Cardinal victory over Minnesota. And for Pujols, 28 home runs as we play here the final days of June, and a guy who's playing and hitting in a lineup with very little protection.
One of the more terrifying hitters in the history of the game. And will it be ever a lot of fun in St. Louis to see him come up 4 or 5 times in a game and see what he can do with protection behind him.
And at some point you have to figure the Cardinals, if they want to be serious about contending throughout a long hot summer, will have to go get somebody to protect him in the lineup. Wise staggering underneath that ball but makes the catch. Jake Fox is 0 for 4 and he's flat out to center all 4 times, and here comes Giovanni Soto.
How many teams are like that though, Joe, who need to protect their hitters, or a number 2 starter or number 3 starter or a stopper? Not only the team that spends the money during the off season, but during the season too, if they feel like they have a chance.
One name that's been mentioned again recently with St. Louis is Matt Holliday of the Oakland A's. Cardinals toyed with the idea of making a deal with Colorado during the offseason, didn't pull the trigger. Billy Beane and the A's did, but they may revisit that. First pitch, a strike to Soto, and now another on the inside corner, and the count's 0-2.
Well, you mentioned a team over the last 3 weeks who has gotten a lot of interest, and that's the Colorado Rockies. They've won 18 of their last 21 games, similar to their run several years ago that put them in the World Series for the first time.
The 1-2, Carrasco drops down, gets it by Soto, and a 1-2-3 7th inning. Time to stretch on the south side. The White Sox will send in Tomey, Konerko, Pierzynski in a game that's tied at 6. By Abadart, by Pepsi. Every generation refreshes the world. There's a strike from Heilman to Jim Tomey to start the bottom of the 7th inning. That misses for a ball, 1-1.
Of all the matchups on either side, this is the toughest matchup for a pitcher against a hitter on either team. The reason for that is pitchers have to pitch Thome inside, and Aaron Heilman can't come inside because his ball tails back over the plate. They're going to try it here.
2-2.
Heilman, not a guy who feels comfortable coming inside the left-handers.
Change up away and a full count. Thome hitless on the day, walked and scored his last time. Looks like he's having a tough time picking up the ball as Heilman deals, and it's inside, a leadoff walk. Time for our fan cam, brought to you by Bank of America Home Loans, making a commitment to home and to homeowners. Starting now, home has a new address. This is the home of the White Sox, with a lot of Cubs fans mixed in. What is another capacity crowd here at U.S. Cellular Field. So the go-ahead run is on with nobody out, and here is Konerko. And that drops in for a strike. Konerko hit on the helmet by a pitch his last time up. Strike two.
There are some managers who would pinch run for Jim Thome right now as the designated hitter. I think it's the right thing not to pinch run Jason Nix or anybody for that matter. As Ozzie Guillen realizing that Jim Thome's spot in the order could come up in the bottom of the ninth inning.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Heilman gave up the lead last inning, and now Konerko hits it foul outside third. Soto calls for a changeup on 1 and 2. And a strikeout is the result as Konerko becomes the second strikeout victim for Aaron Heilman. 1 on, 1 out. Fox Saturday Baseball, presented by Sears, is sponsored by Avidart, by Pepsi. Every generation refreshes the world. And by Craftsman. Trust in your hands. Here is A.J. Pierzynski. 1 on, 1 out, and a foul for strike 1. Two hits for Pierzynski, who coming in had struggled, hitting only 146 in his last 12 against the Cubs. That's a strike and an 0-2 count.
Pierzynski thought that pitch was high. That curveball, normally you could see him go across his chest. It appeared to be low enough to be a strike. Normally catchers don't catch those. They're hit hard somewhere.
1 on, 1 out, and Pierzynski's fooled on the pitch and strikes out. So back-to-back strikeouts after the leadoff walk by Aaron Heilman. And the batter will be Chris Getz.
Heilman getting the call on the breaking ball, and then the better breaking ball gets Pierzynski.
This is a White Sox team that certainly has veterans populating this roster, but they're also getting younger as they go through this season. Over the last couple with Ramirez and Getz and Beckham, who's on deck. So there are some growing pains that the White Sox are having to go through as the wind picks up here in the bottom of the 7th. Strike 2 on Getz, and now Heilmann could strike out the side. Wind is blowing basically across from right to left, maybe a little in. The 0-2 from Heilmann. And he does strike out the side. A leadoff walk. Tomey never moved. We go to the 8th. Still tied 6-6. Interleague baseball, Cubs and Sox. Ryan Friel is the leadoff hitter here in the 8th. And they count 1 ball, 1 strike. First pitch was up for a ball. Now the foul ball. Fukudome will follow, and then Andres Blanco. Anybody gets on back to the top of the order, and Soriano. So far 0 for 3 is Friel. Carrasco gets a lot of work out of this pen, and he'll try to get through his 2nd full inning. Had a perfect 7th. Lead Burley in the 6th. Could not hang on to a lead, and that breaking ball is down and in. 2-2. Coming up, the All-Star game on Tuesday, July 14th. Here's a 2-hopper to Ramirez. It's short, high throw, and safe. Ball hit right at him, and a throw that sails from Ramirez. It's his 2nd error of the day, and more frustration, I'm sure, Tim, for Ozzie Guillen.
Well, that's a tough play because of the bounce, that 2nd hop, and he had to hurry the throw, and it's toward home plate. So the 2nd error of the day, and the 5th in 4 games for Alexei Ramirez.
So we will have a pitching change here in the 8th. An error starts the frame. Carrasco is out of the ball game. Fox Saturday Baseball presented by Sears. Let the Sears Blue Crew help find the top appliance brand most perfect for you. 6-6 game. An error started the inning, and now Aaron Porreta takes over. Checks on the runner at first. That's Ryan Friel with Fukudome at the plate. White Sox are expecting the bunt, and this is a future star for the White Sox, Porreta, who eventually will slide into the starting rotation. Hard throwing left-hander brings it, and a foul on a bunt attempt by Fukudome.
Not a good attempt either. Fukudome has bunted once to sacrifice this year, twice last year, 14 times in Japan. So he's no stranger to the sacrifice. But his bat is not in fair territory, and when your bat's in foul territory, you'll bunt it foul. Giving himself up awfully early, too.
Shows it early again, and the 0-1 pitch is bunted foul. Same pitch, same result, and not going to get it done doing it that way. It's 0-2.
Yeah, you can see that bat in foul territory, and once again, you know, when it's in foul territory and the head of the bat follows the handle of the bat, you'll bunt it foul. Got to make sure the barrel of the bat is above the ball. One of the great descriptions of bunting that I've ever heard is to catch the bat, beg your pardon, catch the ball with the bat.
The 0-2. No sign of a bunt, and a fastball's high, ball one. Porreta was a first-round draft pick. 25th overall in June of 2007. A rapid rise through the organization. Now Fukudome lines one past Konerko into right. Friel will dig and end up at third. Fukudome back to first, and it's first and third with nobody out.
It's a goofy game, isn't it? How to turn two aborted sacrifice bunts into a base hit. Tough left-hander, too. Here's the bunt attempt. Foul ball. And the base hit. Good strategy. Lou Piniella saying go up, try to bunt it a couple times, bunt it foul, and then you'll get a good pitch to hit.
And really a big hit off a tough left-hander for Fukudome.
Yes, sir.
It followed the error by Ramirez. It's first and third with nobody out, and Blanco is at the plate, and the infield comes in. Lead runner is Friel, who can run. He's over at third. And a throw to first where Fukudome gets back. Matt Sinatro goes in and talks to Fukudome. Blanco up in a big spot. That's wide, ball one. Andres Blanco came into this game hitting .234 for the season, but 10 for 25 from the seventh inning on. So he has had a flair for the dramatic and has come up with some big late inning hits for the Cubs. A chance here. Eighth inning, tie game. First and third, nobody out.
With the infield in, that's the easiest time for any runner to steal second base. Because what the defense has told you, we're bringing the infield in. You look at the angle the second baseman has to cover second. Horrible.
Good pitch in under the hands of Blanco. 1 ball, 1 strike. There have been 3 errors and a balk. But Sednick was caught stealing when he overslid second. And it's led to 3 Cubs runs. Tied so far to the errors in the balk, and a chance for another one. Friel reached on the error to start this 8th. Aaron Pareda, another one of the young White Sox players, just 22 years old.
Yeah, he's worried too much about the runner. You have the infield in, there's nobody out. Fukudome is going nowhere.
Blanco has driven in 6 runs on the season. The 1-1 to the shortstop. Ramirez looks the runner back. Now coming to the plate is Friel, and he's safe. The Cubs lead. Good base running by Ryan Friel, and he just beat the throw from Konerko.
Well, that's superb right there. You could see Ramirez looking back, looking back, looking back 3 times. And watch Friel. Made him think he was going back and then darted for home as the Cubs retake the lead again.
So no hit, but an RBI for Blanco, and another pitching change for the White Sox. Only 1 out in the inning. The Cubs lead at 7-6. Back to the bullpen goes Ozzie Guillen here in the 8th. Ryan Friel with aggressive base running scores and a ground out to a drawn in shortstop, Alexi Ramirez, to put the Cubs back out in front by a run. Now Octavio Dotel takes over. Runner at second is Fukudome, 1 out. The 1-0 to Soriano is in for strike 1.
Joe, with Friel, that was a matter of knowing your own speed. Can you go 75 feet faster than the throw from Ramirez to Konerko to Pierzynski? The answer, yes.
Soriano has a big 2-out, 2-run double in this game, and he fouls it straight back, strike 2. We were in the Cubs clubhouse before the game when Soriano was talking in Japanese with not just Fukudome, but a couple people hanging around Fukudome before this game. Soriano played in Japan, or Hiroshima, before he went to the Yankees, and the count goes to 2-2.
Signed from the Dominican Republic as a 16-year-old. That is odd, isn't it, to have a dual language of Spanish and Japanese.
And add English to it.
Yeah.
Down and away, and the count full 3-2 on Soriano. Dotel, former closer with the Mets, the Astros, and through arm trouble, and now part of this good White Sox bullpen, and he walks the first man he faces. Now we bring the heat presented by Taco Bell, and we compare the pitch velocity of the two starters and what they did the first 4 innings. Dempster hit 91 early, topped out at 87 in the 3rd and 4th, and Burley in the mid-80s after hitting 88 in the 1st. Neither starter will get a decision in this game. We're in the top of the 8th, 2 on 1 out now, and Ryan Theriot takes a strike. Terrio's had a nice day. 2 singles, 2 RBIs, a run scored, and a walk. The 0-1 pitch is in for strike 2. The White Sox in their half of this 8th inning will have Beckham, Wise, and Podsednik. The 8, 9, and 1 hitters, meaning that if necessary, the big bats will come up again for the White Sox before the end of this game. 2 on, 1 out, 0-2 pitch. Foul back. High and tight, ball 1. When we had a chance to talk to Lou Piniella earlier in the game, I referred to what happened yesterday with Piniella and Bradley in the dugout tunnel clubhouse as an opportunity to blow off some steam and kind of let some of the pressure go that's been building over what has been a frustrating start to the 2009 season. Here's another foul backing out of play by Theriot. Lou Piniella's been quoted during the week as saying, you know, you all want to see me run out there and make a fool out of myself and blow my stack, get after an umpire, get ejected from a ball game. He was thrown out by Wegner after a heated exchange back in June of 07, which started Cubs on a great run. They won the division in 07 and last year. Here's another foul out of play down the right field line. You and I, Tim, worked with Lou Piniella, became good friends with him during that World Series year and the postseason year for these White Sox in 2005, and those on the field tirades was something that Lou didn't really laugh about and was tired of seeing some of the video and was basically in a way embarrassed that some of that stuff kept resurfacing. It happened then after that in this 2007 with the Cubs. As ball 2 goes outside, but he did confront Bradley, and there was a heated exchange, and it has been a little jolt as the Cubs won the game yesterday. And they've come back a couple of times in this game alone against the White Sox and lead it here 7-6 in the top of the 8th. Theriot went, and he is out number 2.
As a fan, you can criticize some things perhaps about Lou Piniella. But the one thing that Lou Piniella, in my view, can never be questioned about is his passion. That new expression about passion bucket. Lou Piniella's passion bucket is full, has been full, and will be full.
He said to the media, I feel like you guys are waiting for me to run out there and want to see me have a heart attack on the field and getting into an argument. And during the week, you read one story after another wondering about the passion of Lou Piniella, who was quoted also as saying, I'm signed through next year, kind of period, end of story. Wondering if he wants to be in the dugout. We've had a chance to visit with him 2 out of the last 3 weeks, and I would say the answer is yes, and he's waiting for this team to kick it into gear, get a little healthier, and he truly believes that the Cubs can win the Central here in 09.
Only 2.5 games behind 2 teams in the National League Central. Funny how that works, though. A team hits .219 with runners in scoring position, so you question the manager's passion. His passion got to do with driving in runs with runners in scoring position like now.
It's Bradley on the spot. Batting left-handed, and he takes down and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Milton is under 200 batting left-handed so far in his first year with the Cubs. Big reason why he was brought to Chicago. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 on, 2 out. And a chopper to third. Tough pickup by Beckham, and the throw is in time to end the inning. But the Cubs, on the base running of Ryan Friel, regain the lead. Here's the play that ended the top of the 8th, going to the bottom half. The Cubs on top of the White Sox, 7-6. Sears is sponsored by Smirnoff Ice. Please drink responsibly. By Catuit. And by Hyundai Assurance. A little certainty in uncertain times. Well, the Cubs go deeper into their bullpen and call on Carlos Marmol to pitch this bottom of the 8th. Tim, the stuff is all there, the command from time to time, and the precision is not.
Yeah. 38 games, 38 walks. And generally speaking, he only works 1 inning. So that gives you an idea of how effective he is. When he's in the strike zone, forget it. You're not going to hit him. When he's not, you'll get to him.
We actually talked to Lou Piniella before this game about Marmol. First of all, wondering if he was available. He said yes, and here he is. And he said that Marmol yesterday, after walking a couple more, came into him after the outing and said, "Do not lose confidence in me." He said, "I won't. I'll put you back out there." And true to his word, in a 1-run lead, bottom of the 8th, here's Marmol. But really the bigger picture is this is who you have. This is who you use. And he's either going to have to do it or he's not going to do it. The 1-2 pitch is looped into left field, and a good start for the White Sox as Beckham is on with his first hit of the day. 1 for 4. Right off the hands and over the head of the third baseman, Friel.
That was a slider that was supposed to be outside, and Beckham just kind of muscles it over the lunge of Ryan Friel.
Friel made a good play to hold that to a single.
Yeah. think you're in a situation here with Podsednik, 4 for 4, where you almost have to bunt to tie. You don't see that too often in the American League, but I think this is one of those situations.
Showing it and taking a strike is wise. Dwayne tripled and scored a run his last time up. He's walked and scored. 7-6 Cubs, bottom of the 8th. Holds his bat back in the count 1-1.
Ozzie Guillen giving signs to Jeff Cox, the third base coach. A lot of times when you move the infielders around by trying to bunt a couple of times, it's a good time to put the hit and run on. Good speed at first and a contact guy at home.
2-1. Tying run at first and a check on Beckham. That one almost got away. Talk about control to the plate, control to first, and the big body of Derek Lee and his reach kept it in play.
Big body and soft hands.
A bunt in the air. Lee makes the play. Down to second is the tying run. Beckham, one out. Who's coming up? Scott Podsednik. And Pepsi, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball, congratulates Scott Podsednik, today's MLB Clutch Performer of the game. To learn more about the MLB Clutch Performer of the Month award, log on to PepsiClutch.com. A 4-for-4 day. 3 RBI day. A 2-run scored day and a strike from Marmol. Podsednik has never had a 5-hit game. Slaps at it, fights it off, and fouls it down the left field line. Strike 2. Dempster went the first 5. Heilman the next 2. And now Marmol. The 0-2. Ball 1. Bobby Jenks getting loose in case, and Podsednik loops it down the right field line. It is a foul ball. A couple of feet away from a 5-hit day and a tie game in the 8th.
Funny how the game goes. This is the best pitch that Marmol has thrown since coming into the game, and Podsednik almost turned it into a double or a triple.
Podsednik, who was released by the Rockies on the 1st of April, signed to a minor league deal by the White Sox April 14th. Fights it off, fouls it back. In NFL terms, he was basically a street free agent out there for anybody to pick up. He came back to the White Sox, one of the heroes in 2005, and it has paid off. That's off the plate foul.
With 2 strikes, a lot of movement with the feet. He's already shown his movement in the batter's box. He's giving up power. And if you're Soriano, you really should be 4 or 5 feet closer to prevent that little dunker. But Soriano's too deep right now.
A 1-2. 2-2. 3-2. On deck is Ramirez. After Ramirez, it's Jermaine Dye. Bullpen is quiet for the Cubs. Jenks is getting loose for the White Sox. Off the end of the bat into center field. Fukudome makes the play. Holding at second is Beckham, 2 out. So Marmol finally retires Podsednik for the first time in this game, and it's up to Alexi Ramirez. Ramirez in this game has committed 2 errors. And he goes after the first pitch and fouls it out of play, strike 1. At the plate, he's 1 for 3 with a sacrifice, a single, and a run scored. The 0-1 breaking ball is a good one on the inside corner, strike 2.
Yeah, that slider just freezing Ramirez.
Another one, and Ramirez broke his bat.
Certainly understand the throwing arm of Carlos Marmol. He's a former catcher. And understand the velocity on his fastball, but being a former catcher, that cannot explain that vicious slider he has. One of the best in the game.
The 0-2. Reaching out for it, and a base hit into left field. In to score as Beckham in this game is tied again.
Terrio didn't see that ball. Normally, Terrio gets a good enough jump to knock that ball down with 2 out and a runner at second base. There was that hesitation. Fine hitting by Ramirez.
Beckham scored easily. And I saw what you saw. Terrio moved to his left.
Yeah.
And couldn't get to the ball, back to his right. And as you say, at least knock it down, try and keep it on the infield and keep Beckham from scoring. Here's Dye. Ramirez at first with 2 out. He's the go-ahead run. Sean Marshall now is getting loose for the Cubs in their bullpen with Jim Thome on deck. The Cubs and the White Sox during interleague play have met 69 times. The Cubs have won 35. The White Sox have won 34. And it's been a series of 1-run games. Cubs have won 11 1-run games. The White Sox have won 8. A good breaking ball has Dye frozen 2-1.
One of the few guys who could continue to throw slider after slider and have it be effective.
This one is hit in the air to center. Back is Fukudome at the wall. A leap and a catch to end the inning. What a game. Fukudome makes the play. The White Sox score a run. Tied at 7. Into the 9th inning we go. First pitch for the All-Star game in 1970 in Cincinnati, Richard Nixon. The last sitting president to throw out the ceremonial first pitch was Gerald Ford in 1976 in Philadelphia. Now Barack Obama will add his name to that list on July 14th right here on Fox, as he and baseball's best will be in St. Louis for the Major League Baseball All-Star game. The Cardinals and Major League Baseball were excited to find out that President Obama would be there. And it's not that far away, the 14th of July in St. Louis. And if the weather then is like it has been over the past 2 weeks, it will be hot. Here's a guy who can bring it and heat it up, Bobby Jenks. And a foul straight back by Derek Lee. 1 ball, 1 strike.
President Obama, for the first time in 33 years, will be a president to throw out the first pitch.
1 ball, 1 strike. Lee takes low. Bobby Jenks is in a non-save situation. So far in 2009, in a non-save opportunity, he's pitched in 7 games, 0-1 with an ERA of 6.43. That's on the inside corner, 2-2. In save situations, 1-1, 2.25 ERA. Opponents have hit .333 against him in non-save chances compared to 178. He's trying to rack up a save, and a foul straight back keeps it 2-2. When you talk about saves, since he burst onto the big league scene in that championship season of 2005, starting in 06, Jenks has the 5th highest save total across baseball, and he starts the inning by striking out Lee to begin the 9th.
Facial hair has changed, but not his stuff. Not too many pitchers can get swing throughs on low fastballs, but Jenks is one of them.
Here comes Jake Fox, who homered on Thursday in Detroit, homered here yesterday. 0 for 4, and he's flied to center 4 times. Strike 1. One out, nobody on, and a fastball for strike 2. The White Sox in the bottom of this 9th inning will have Tomey, Konerko, and Pierzynski. Fox just got a piece.
They're going to have Jim Tomey leading off because Ozzie Guillen didn't pinch run for him in the 7th inning.
Marshall is still getting loose for the Cubs in their pen. Another 0-2. Ball 1. Also talked about this leading into the All-Star game, as Major League Baseball and People magazine will be recognizing individuals who have made a difference in their community. Go to peopleallstars.com and check out those representing each team across the big leagues. Real All-Stars, people making a difference, and they'll be celebrated before the game on the 14th. The fly ball to center, drifting back is Wise, 2 out in the 9th. Here are the 6 candidates, 3 for each team from Chicago. These 3 represent the Cubs: Ryan, Aaron, and Matthew. And then the 3 who represent the White Sox: Kelwin, Joe, and Patty, running nonprofit organizations Operation of St. Nick, rescuing labs, whatever it may be. Go to peopleallstars.com. Check out those 3 individuals representing your favorite team who will be honored on the 14th in St. Louis. 2 out, nobody on, and a strike to Giovanni Soto.
Joe, you talked about it. Jake Fox has flied out 5 times in 5 at-bats to center field. I don't think I've ever seen that.
So two things you've never seen before in your lifetime. And you've seen a lot of baseball. 5 flyouts to center and a balk from a left-hander throwing to, or not throwing, but motioning toward an unoccupied first base.
That is exactly right. Left-hander balking Mark Burley with runners on at first and second and nobody out. Man, what a game.
Nobody was there to take the throw. But he held on. Crowd to its feet with an 0-2 count. Got him looking. Tailing fastball ends the top of the 9th, and the big bats are coming up for the White Sox. And it'll start with Jim Thome. The most home runs in the history of interleague play. We'll try and get it started for the White Sox in a moment. Seven into the bottom of the 9th inning. Marmol is gone. He goes an inning, 1 run on 2 hits, no strikeouts or walks, and now it's Sean Marshall, the left-hander who has been busy this season out of the rotation and the bullpen for the Cubs. Thome takes a ball. We talked to the Cubs before the game, and they were hoping to stay away from Sean Marshall. Didn't want to use him because of all the work, and here he is in a 7-7 game. On the corner, a ball and a strike. 56 interleague home runs on the resume of Jim Thome, most ever. Good pitch, inside corner, strike 2. Including today, Marshall has pitched 7 times in 8 days. What kind of stuff can he have left? Broken bat, fly ball, left field, long run. Soriano, nice catch to start the inning. Great jump by Soriano, and on the dead run, a reach and a catch.
Well, the Cubs were in their no doubles defense. Soriano very deep near the track in left field. That's why the play, normally a routine play for a routine hitter, is a tough play off the bat of Tomey. Nicely done by Soriano.
Here's Konerko. Strike one. On the year, 12 home runs for Konerko. He's hit 14 home runs against the Cubs during interleague play. Line drive, base hit to left. Konerko on with a one-out single. One on, one out. Pierzynski coming up. Be sure to catch Hooked, the new series premiering this week on the National Geographic Channel. Check your local listings. Josh Fields will come off the bench and pinch run for Paul Konerko. Potential winning run at first with one out, and A.J. Pierzynski at the plate. 2 for 4 in this game. 2 singles, 2 RBIs, and a check on Fields. Ball one. Just in case you're wondering, not saying he's going to run, but Fields has stolen 2, been caught 3 times this season.
I think you leave the hole on the right side and try to first and third him instead of run here.
Off the end of the bat, Friel makes the pickup and sidearm throw, 2 out. Down to second is Fields. Getz is called back. And the White Sox will send in a pinch hitter. Nix.
Jason Nix. Excuse me, Joe.
Come off the bench and bat for Getz.
Jason, whose brother plays with the Cincinnati Reds.
Hitting .219, 5 home runs, 31 games. He could end a long day of baseball with a hit. Lou Piniella now makes the slow walk out to the mound. So a pitching change coming for the Cubs. Marshall got 2 outs here in the 9th. He's gone. Jose Ascanio takes over here for the Cubs, trying to get one more out to force extra innings. And for our Chicago viewers, you can keep it right here on Fox Chicago for the Cubs Sox post-game show. Corey McFerrin, Tom Waddle, and Jill Carlson will bring you all the post-game reaction right here on Fox Chicago. The numbers for Ascanio in his 14th game, and his mission is to get Jason Nix and send this game to the 10th. We're tied at 7. Winning run at second, 2 out. Bottom of the 9th.
Joe, it's hard to believe. Here we are, the 27th of June, almost 3 months into the season. And the White Sox have 2 pinch hits in 44 pinch hit plate appearances with no home runs and no RBIs. Staggering.
A chance for Jason Nix to end this game with a hit. Takes a ball. The rookie Gordon Beckham on deck. The 1-0. 2-0. Cubs are left with Kevin Hart, David Patton, and Kevin Gregg, their closer, in their bullpen. Here's a 2-0 to Nix. Fouled back off the hand, strike 1. Chased it, 2-2.
High fastball to Nix. Evens the count. A lot of electric arms in both bullpens. And this is another one. Jose Ascanio.
Was 2-0, now a 2-2 pitch. Full count. There's Beckham, who scored the tying run in the bottom of the 8th after leading off with a hit. Three-two. 2 on, 2 out. And for the White Sox, it's up to the rookie Gordon Beckham. Cubs are missing Guzman out of their bullpen, due to come back off the disabled list first week of July. He had really settled in and was giving Lou Piniella good innings, getting big outs. Now it's Ascanio trying to get this game to the 10th. Beckham lines one into right, well hit. White Sox win it.
From the College World Series last year to a game-winning hit, his first as a major leaguer.
3-hour, 31-minute game. Another one-run affair that ends in the bottom of the ninth. The hero is Gordon Beckham as the Cubs suffer their 11th loss in the opponent's last at bat. 8-7 is the final. Jenks the win.